Good morning, ladies. It's great to see your beautiful faces this morning. You guys enjoying yourselves so far? Yes. Amazing. Well, we have a great panel for you guys today, and I would like to introduce my amazing panelists. First is Crystal Oliver, VP of Memphis World Hum for FedEx. Yes, this lady. Second is Dia Sims, co-founder of Pronghorn. And last, certainly not least, is Latia Vaughn, CEO and founder of the U Network. Let's give these ladies one more round of applause. Such an amazing panel to come. So ladies, you represent some amazing companies as the queens in charge. I wanted to begin by having you all share a little bit about the companies you represent and what it takes to lead them, especially as Black women. Okay. We'll start with you, Chris.
Okay. Well, repeat the question, please.
Talk about the companies that you lead and how you lead them as a Black woman. You're the big boss in charge. Tell us how.
I'm at FedEx, and I am the VP of the Memphis World Hub, one of the largest logistics company in the world. My first approach to leading is not leading as a woman. I'm a leader that happens to be a woman. I don't put the woman in front of it. I lead by making sure that I am a student of the craft, because at the end of the day, it boils down to results. I try to surround myself with people that don't necessarily think like me. I lead with honesty, because that is the only way you can get results and get to the bottom of what's going on about being honest. As a leader, particularly as you go up, you don't have your hand directly on it, so it's really important to know how, because leadership is about getting things done through others, so you have to have clear expectations, you have to have good processes in place, and also you have to recognize that you, being a Black woman, you're going to encounter things that others don't. So you have to be very particular about how you approach some of those things, because you're going to get those microaggressions. You're going to get those things that kind of make you want to say something that you shouldn't say. So you have to learn. And I'm not going to tell you to ignore those things. You just have to learn how to. And I'll give you an example. Somebody may say something to you when you're in a meeting or something, and it's kind of off kilter. The meeting is not the time, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with possibly pulling that person aside after the meeting is over and not go off but say, you know, you said this and I really want to understand your intentions, you know, with your conversation, because we have to work together. So I'm not really feeling, you know, I don't think I took it the way that you intended. So please explain it to me so that I can understand. So, in being the first Black vice president for the Memphis Hub operation, it's a little, and it wasn't about the first, it's about being there and making sure. And is there pressure? Yeah, because I want to make sure that the door stays open. And so, basically, in a nutshell, that's kind of what it's about.
Let's give her a round of applause. Come on, first Black woman. Dia, I have been a fan for a long time. Tell us a little bit about Pronghorn and what it takes for you to lead this amazing company.
Thank you. So Pronghorn was co-founded with myself and two other incredible co-founders. And we established it a few years ago as basically a template on how to effectively diversify any industry, right? So we were in the middle of this racial reckoning in this country, which was new for some and old for most of us. And I was watching the news, and actually, you know, shout out to Black Enterprise, there was so much conversation around, honestly, like a tsunami of the things we need to fix, which can feel really overwhelming. There's a lot of challenges with education and justice. We've got to get our health right, like what's going on with housing. That can really be painful, but the thing I felt was a whisper was about our economic power. I was like, well, communities can underpin their own rights, right, if we have the appropriate funding to move. So I said, well, we really want to dial down on one thing. We want to figure out, how do you actually diversify American industry in a way that's commercially forward, and in a way that benefits both the community and the industry, right? Because that's what's sticky. That's what can be centuries long. So we worked on a mission that's focused on 2 tiers, entrepreneurship and intrapreneurship. We started with the Black American community as a community, and we started with the spirits industry, beverage alcohol industry, as the industry that we were going after. If anybody knows that industry, it's tricky and wonky, and we were like, we can do it here, we can do it in oil, we can get left-handed Sprites in oil, we can do all kind of communities in different industries. We are focused on the modeling work that we did will yield $2.4 billion in economic value over 10 years. We are fully funded for the first 10 years for a $200 million level of investment. After the first year and a half, we've invested in 23 Black-owned spirits companies, where if you are desirous to do so, you can have an all-Black bar for your guest across the board. And then on the flip side of that, we are driving 1,800 net gain Black American employees into the industry over 10 years, from intern to C-suite.
Yes.
Come on.
I was like, let's pause for a round of applause, because that is impressive, dear.
And combined, I think to the question, this answers both the mission and the way I try to lead, which is that it is heart-led, but it is math-based, right? And we measure all along the way. And the reason we even called it pronghorn, if you're not familiar, I'm a super geek and learned about this animal years ago, but there is an animal called the pronghorn that's found in Montana. It's the 2nd fastest land mammal in the world, actually the fastest in the United States of America. And if the pronghorn and the cheetah were in a race and it was a sprint, the cheetah would win. But in a marathon, the pronghorn will win every single time. And we're like, we have centuries of inequity we have to catch up from, so we have a lot of ground to cover, but we're hella impatient for change, so we do not have a lot of time.
Wow.
Amen. Let's give her a round of applause. Doing such amazing things, Dia.
Come on. My name is Latia Vaughn. Also, oh no.
Take it away, girl. We ready for you.
My name is Latia Vaughn. I am known as the Dream Pusher. I'm a futurist. I'm 1% of African American women futurists represented in North America. I started in corporate America over 20 years ago and started in management development, training, building core competencies. After that, I started my own firm, the U Network, in which we deal with everything concerning evolution, okay? Evolution of self, evolution of business, spiritual evolution. And in terms of a futurist, it's a term that a lot of people don't know about, especially in our culture, right? But for centuries, from government officials, NASA, Google, Tesla, they all have futurists at their helms shaping their navigations. So I count it as an honor and a blessing to not only help them shape the futures they want to see. We look at, for those of you who may not know, we look at what is possible, what is probable, and what is preferable. And will never be a fixed future, but you can do what you can to either pivot, get ahead of the wave, or prepare for the change so that you can get the best possible outcome for the future. And I am honored and blessed to walk with so many amazing, beautiful women and souls and companies to help them shape what's coming in the future.
Let's give her a round of applause. Love the need. I love, love, love the U Network. So thank you for bringing that into our community. The theme of our panel today is we're talking teams. We are talking about the best and the worst type of people to have on your team, in your network, and in your kitchen cabinet. And what we mean by kitchen cabinet is your close circle of advisors that is a valuable asset to your potential and also to your growth. So I want you ladies to describe the types of people that you need to have a part of your kitchen cabinet and the role that each one plays and how they help you advance your company. Because teams mean everything, y'all. If you got bad people on your team, you may not go too far. So talk to us about the type of people that you want to have as part of your kitchen cabinet.
Okay. You want to, first of all, have people that are going to be truthful to you. You don't want people that are going to just say what you want to hear, because you want the people to be the ones that understand where it is that you're trying to go. You want people that have seen around corners that you're approaching, so they can tell you that. And you also have to understand, and some of the times with that team of people, it's different people for different reasons, because if you have families and different things and you are making decisions at work that may affect them, it's important to have them on there, because you don't want that diametrically opposed. You're making decisions at work that's going to affect your family, then you can't be effective at work. I kind of had to learn this, because as you're trying to move, a lot of times you may have a boss that's not necessarily aligned with you, but it's important to have that boss in your kitchen cabinet with a limit. However, they're going to have input because they're going to come to your boss and ask your boss about work ethics and all this other stuff when it's time to, for you to move. So, peers, and for me being very faith-based, your pastor.
Amen.
And I've got to give a shout out to one of my people that's in my kitchen sink and in my kitchen cabinet, Shannon Brown, who's been there, who's going to tell, right, wrong, and then not afraid to share with you what your shortcomings are. I think you need to work on this, and then, good girlfriends, and then also in that kitchen, you need to have, and they may not necessarily be, but that group of people when you're just having that kind of day, that you can pick up on, look, I need you to meet me here because it's just one of those.
One of those days.
But the biggest thing is somebody that's going to tell you the truth, somebody that understands what it is that you're trying to accomplish, and that there's not rivalry between those people that are on there. They understand why they're there, and and you make it work.
Definitely. Well, it's worked so well for you, hasn't it?
It has.
Dia, talk to me about the type of people you have in your kitchen cabinet.
So even before any kind of technical expertise, I look for people who are rooted in kindness and imagination. The imagination is so critical. I talk a lot about the future as well, where the past is only one input into the future, right? So if people are only constrained by what they have seen or what they know, they really can't be additive when you try to think of the things that require an audacity of vision, hopefully simplicity and execution, right? So I think that's important. The other piece that I feel like I was guilty of this, and I've tried to be more intentional as I've gotten into my 40s, is really purposely seeking out meaningful lines of difference. Look at your text. The last 5 people you text, if y'all kind of in similar industries, you kind of similar, then you really can't learn, right, all the things that are happening in the world. And you also really can't get truthful and objective, because you're just going to be a wall of reverberating the same thing. I used to work close to the music industry, and I would go into these label meetings, and it would be 20 people talking about which song they were going to pick for the hot new single. And coming in fresh from kind of a different perspective, I'd be like, okay, great, are we gonna focus group, or are we gonna bring in a sales team? And they were like, nah, it's just us. We decide. And I was like, just y'all decide. Like, we don't care what anybody different things. We don't care what the sales people are. And you saw that time period in history parallel to a precipitous drop in revenues in that industry that just rebounded, like in the last 5 years. So it's so important when you look at the most precious thing of your life, that your kitchen cabinet is bringing differentiated views, because it's just scientifically proven that diversity of thought leads to better outcomes.
Definitely.
I agree. Let me tell you something. You hit it right on the head. A lot of times we don't realize that we're capped by our own circles, and we become comfortable in our places that we have with people that we've grown up in, or friends, or family. And so I absolutely agree with the diversity aspect, having different voices. And I would also say we oftentimes build our board and our cabinets with things and people that are out of season, because they knew you in one area or in one term of life, and we just want to keep them there. And it's great to have them there, but being open enough to accept the new to come in. And so diversity of thought, you need people on your team that also thinks differently than you. If you are super creative, you need somebody on your team that is administrative, okay? So that you can stay the visionary and they can make sure that they are doing the project management that needs to be in place. You also need somebody in there that you could be vulnerable with. When we're in these teams, and we always have the S on our chest that we talk about, there's very few people that I can reach out to and say, you know what, I'm having a bad day. I'm a wife and a mother of 5. So if you could just imagine. All prayers are welcome.
Lots of prayers.
And so I need somebody that I'm having a bad day. Let me talk through this. And we have to understand those who are in business or in careers or entrepreneurs, there are ebbs and flows to the business, okay? What you see on Instagram is just the iceberg. There's so much more underneath. And you need your team to really support and undergird the underbelly of what you're really building. And then also to what you said, which was so beautiful, somebody that knows your spiritual moral values that you can talk to. I'm making a business decision, right? And I want to see, how does this align with myself spiritually? And I think that you can be super diverse in there, then I think that you'll be set for success for people to walk with you.
Couldn't agree more, ladies. I loved all of your answers. So we spoke about the types of people that you have in your kitchen cabinet. And one thing that resonated with me that my mother always told me, it's great to surround yourself with a diverse group of people, but you are who you surround yourself with.
Yeah, that's true.
These conversations, tell me the best practices on having these conversations, how you choose them, because those can be tough conversations. You can't bring everybody with you. Tell me the process and the practices that you have taken to build your kitchen cabinet.
The first thing is really understanding, trying to dig into myself and understand what is it that I want and need, because that helps me to pick the people on the cabinet, because you need to be able to explain to them what their role is and why you have them there, and that you need them to be very honest with you. You don't want somebody that thinks just like you. You also, when you identify where it is that you want to go and the skill sets that you don't have, somebody that has that skill set that can help you with it, but also you don't want to party. So you really don't want to have, I would say 10 is just, it's kind of a lot, but everybody, and don't think, people think about personal board, you're not having board meetings because you're going to need, sometimes you may need everybody together. Sometimes you just may need that one and you need them for that. So I looked at my skill sets, I looked at where I wanted to go, who has been there, and I also looked at, over my career, people that I've had, I don't want to say dissension, I want to say some differences of opinion that we had to work through, and why those, I want that. Also, in leading people, you've led different types of people over the years, I found it to be beneficial to have a subordinate sometimes, because they see you in action. And a lot of the times, in the mix of what's going on and how you come across is very important in how you're going to get the results. So sometimes with that subordinate, you're not going to lay out everything that you would, but that's a good person to have conversation with about maybe some challenges or things that you've discussed that's kind of been, you can tell that everybody's not on the same page. So just starting with yourself and knowing what it is that you want. And again, they're not people that have done the same things that you have. You want to make sure that there's somebody that is where you want to go or has been there. Because somebody that hasn't been there can't share with you the things that they need to do. For me, and because of the time that I came up, there were no women. So most of the people that have been in my kitchen cabinet have been men, and I've been very blessed with that and starting to get women. So it just, laying it out and understanding while doing that it's also important to try to, even outside of your business, find a woman. Find somebody that's like you, that even that's not in your business, you have to seek. So you have to do the work to build that kitchen cabinet.
Absolutely. And I love how, although there weren't many women there, it seems like the men that were in your kitchen cabinet were very supportive of you and helped you progress in your career. And I'd really love to see that, especially black men. Come on, black men. Come on. Dia, this brings me to you. I know so many women in your company, Marilyn, Erin, and so on. And one thing I will say about Dia is you are really disrupting the spirits industry with an all-black, mostly black, and women-led company. Tell us, how did you select those women? What were your practices to select those women? Because you picked some great women. I know personally you picked some great women.
I'm grateful. To be honest, I'm surrounded with incredible women. And honestly, since childhood. So sometimes it was just literally like my homie from 3rd grade ended up blossoming into being an incredible person, so I could have both the trust and the technical expertise. Just last week, one of my best friends who I met on the first day of high school is now the First Lady of the state of Maryland, the only black governor and black First Lady in our country. Yeah. So part of it is not, I'm probably not as good with the intentionality around, I'm good at financials. Let me find somebody who's good at creative. You should be, but I'm just being honest. What I try to find is people who inspire me and I admire and who I could learn from. And that has kind of fallen into just this incredible army of amazing women who are both trustworthy and just bad at what they do. So that I would encourage you to be more intentional than I have been, but it has worked for me. I think the other thing is, with that math-based thinking, I spent 14 years at Combs Enterprises, and historically, that industry and that company had been predominantly male at a leadership standpoint. Well, I did two things. One was I sat with the CFO and did a retrospective and looked at the periods of times where Combs Enterprises was making the most revenue and who was in leadership. And I wasn't surprised to see the more female executives, the more money that was being made.
Come on.
That was a micro, but I've already seen this at a macro level. If you haven't seen, there's a great study that came out of Boston from Quantopian that showed like a little bit about 50 female CEOs, and they were outperforming the Fortune 500 3-1, right? So this is not my thing at the end of the day is finding these great women is always really a business exercise because most underserved populations work harder. It's just a fact, right? It's just a little fact because you have to. You've been groomed that way. So a little bit was, I have a lot of hobbies, but I'm here to make money. So I'm the only woman. That's not gonna make no sense. We're trying to grow, so I got to bring in some incredible executives so that this organization can flourish. And I'm 48. It has worked every single time in every industry.
I love that, Dia. I love that. Latia, talk to me, the women that you surround yourself with, what's your process? How do you select them?
I'm very watchful of people. Okay? Oftentimes, people may try to run to see who's in the front of the room, but I want to see how you talk to the janitor in the back. I want to see how you spoke to the woman that dropped something and you just looked at her, okay? Character will always be number one for me if you want to be and live within this realm and in this sphere, because I believe that we teach the world how to treat us, okay? And we have to make sure that we surround ourselves with those who will uphold that same level of integrity and character. So one, I watch people, their mannerisms and how they treat people. And then number two, I look at, it's not even being the perfect one, but if there is a drive, if there is an innate drive that I'm willing to learn, then we can work through any mishaps and mistakes because I know that you're gonna get it right eventually, okay? And then I would say the last thing is somebody that I look for is that where there is alignment with the trajectory of where I'm going or my business is going, to make sure that we are walking parallel to each other to support. And I love for the women that I walk with to know what their dreams and aspirations are too, because I love to be the one to open the door or make a relationship or a connection happen. I believe that legacy doesn't happen after we die, it happens after we walk out the room. Yeah. How did I make somebody feel? Who else did I help bring up the ladder? And to me, that will always be one of the greatest accomplishments we can do is to bring others up. So I would say those are the top three things that I look at. And then don't be crazy.
Please don't be crazy.
Just a little bit. You could be
a little crazy, a little Lulu, as they say. Let's see, it's something that stood out, something I was raised on, that you said you always treat the janitor how you treat the CEO. Exactly. That's something that really stood out to me, so I'm so glad you said that. So now we went over the process of selecting your kitchen cabinet, but to keep a strong team, you have to nurture it.
Yes.
What are some ways that you ladies are able to nurture your kitchen cabinet, and even beyond that, nurture your network to keep a strong team? How do you continue that process of nurturing?
Sharing information. Because you don't want, it could be something that you had a mishap with, but somebody else can learn from that. So you don't want to keep that because you're embarrassed, I messed up. You want to share that so somebody else doesn't do that. And as far as the kitchen cabinet, you share those things. And then also, and it's not necessarily a one-way street there, but you need to check on your kitchen cabinet too.
Check in.
Because even though they're your cabinet, you're a part of theirs because you brought them into yours.
Absolutely.
So making sure that you're sharing the information and that you're caring about people. And the thing about the janitor is really good. There was a professor that gave a final exam. And when the students came in for the final exam, he asked them the name of the janitor.
Wow.
Everybody failed. And he told them they were going to fail in life because you pass by this man every day and you have not bothered to find out his name. So that really helped because no matter what you do, and I know all of us were taught, as black girls, you got to be better and do everything well. But any job that anybody does, you're not your title. So you have to treat people with dignity and respect, regardless as to what is going on.
Yes.
So just nurture your cabinet and make sure you're there for them, and then stay relevant. As things change, that cabinet needs to change. And if somebody on your cabinet is going through something and they can't, then recognize that.
Absolutely.
And don't make them feel obligated that they've got to be there for you when they've got things going on that they can't support you the way that you need to.
And I love that because you're really looking into the person.
Right.
Beyond their role, beyond their title, you really spoke about looking into the person that's on your kitchen. I love that. Dia, how do you nurture the wonderful women around you that I love?
I mean, I'm think about things from an abundance mindset. One, right? So, there is so much opportunity abound. So any opportunity I get, I do always try to think, okay, how am I matchmaking? How are we all like, it's not, and it doesn't matter if it's a 1 minute or somebody's like, I'm owning a painting company. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna introduce you to this guy. He's opening up 3 businesses in Memphis, you should. So just trying to always think about how it's requited to the point, right? That we're in the natural exchange of blessing each other. And it could be somebody, for 30 seconds or 30 years. You have a chance to do something that is, and it's not me doing a favor, it's not something down, right? It's just the way we should live in community with each other. It's just the right way we should live together. I think the other thing that's been important is I'm a person who's like obsessive about time. So I really respect everybody else's time. And I think when you think about cabinet, friends, family, subordinates, it means a great deal to people when you're like, my time's not more valuable than yours. I know it doesn't matter what your job title is. That's the most precious thing we have, much more precious than cash. And operate in a way that the people that I'm trying to nurture, it starts with a level of respect. And it starts with an understanding that the nurturing is going both ways. It's not a one-way nurturing relationship. And then this is how I kind of bring people on. This is more about hiring, but I think it kind of applies to relationships. I love to hire hard, but manage light. Want to really know who I'm inviting on a day-to-day basis, and then truly give them the tools, the information to fly. Because the challenge is a lot of times, if you're being micromanaged or you're in a silo, you cannot build to your full potential. What nurturing looks like for me is being like, oh, today you're associate brand manager. Obvious to me, if you desire so, that you could be running your own agency or you could be a CMO, and giving you the opportunities to flex those muscles with the freedom to fail, fail fast.
Yes.
And that's the caveat of saying like, no, this is your project. You're the president of this project. Don't bring me a good idea because you're gonna be the president of that project. And I'm gonna give you everything you need, but I wanna be the backseat. I wanna be the subordinate because I want you to hire my daughter in 20 years. I'm about to retire. I wanna be part-time for you in 20 years, right? So you gotta always be building people, and to me, that's what really nurturing looks like.
Yes. Latia, I think that the U Network, from what I've seen, is centered kind of around nurturing, especially within our community. Talk to me about that. How are you able to provide that for us, and how do you nurture those around you?
So in terms of those around me, personally, I have learned I can help the most people if I can learn their seasons and know mine. Okay? If you're in a season where you've been sowing or planting, if you're in a season, I sense that you're in a season to reap your harvest. If you're in a season to be platformed, to be put on the stage, if you're in a season where I need you to dig a little deeper because you got a little bit more in you, you've been hiding in the background. So the more I can learn their seasons, the more I felt over the years, I can help cultivate them and develop them better because I'm not giving them, direction and focus that's not congruent with the season, because the fruit won't be the same. It won't be the same fruit that will be harvested if they were actually reaping and working in those fields and in those areas that they're supposed to be focused on.
Definitely. So ladies, I have to ask this question because being in corporate America and having kitchen cabinets is not all butterflies and rainbows, as much as we would like it to be. Talk to me about experiences that you've had with choosing the wrong people to be in your kitchen cabinet, because those decisions can really make or break you. And I know I've had a few that I wish I could take back, but talk to me about those experiences, whether it's someone that just didn't align with your values, didn't align with your team. Talk to me about those experiences and how you overcame them.
I can recall one where there was somebody I considered in my kitchen cabinet, and I found out later they really were not very supportive. You know, they talked yesterday about the room and then the other room. So in this room, it was one thing, but when they got to the other room.
Another thing.
Yeah, so once I found out, you know, I had to digest this and how am I, and I found out through another person and just said, look, I think you need to know this because you're thinking this person is really supporting you. So I didn't confront him or anything. I just eased him out.
Okay.
And my interaction with them became very different. And then I also began to make sure that I would, you know, telling the people that are in that circle that, you know, understand it, making sure that they understood. When people understand the why to the what.
Yes.
So you establish at the front end, you know, where you're going. And then also, I learned from that too, you need to do some background checks.
Yeah.
Amen
Yeah.
to that.
Yeah.
And these people, and particularly when it's a boss, because your boss is going to be on your kitchen cabinet regardless, but you need to do some little checking to find out what affiliations they have. Not to say they're not there, but you understand those affiliations so that you can maneuver through that the way that you need to, and that it doesn't bite you because you have not done your due diligence.
I love your grace and how you handle things, because I don't know if I could do the same.
It
But
took some time now.
It took some time.
It didn't come overnight. That's took some time.
I love that. Tia, talk to me about your experiences, especially working in the spirits industry, very close to the music industry. I'm sure you've had some tricky experiences, let's say.
You know, you said something that I say a lot, which is that I was really raised that you teach people how to treat you. So I'm grateful that they probably are not as plentiful as they could have been. But I do have one experience with, you know, a luminary with whom I learned a great deal from, and I hope they feel they learned from me. But at some point, when you see things don't align, it's okay to recognize, to your point, right, the season of the relationship. And made the decision, okay, this is, you know, we can always be for each other, right? But as I often say, there's some people you can keep in prayer, but not in person.
Exactly.
So making that decision and then going on to the next season was, for me, I'm on the same page of like, well, it's been nice knowing you. I'm going to the next day.
I love that.
I would say that the times that I have invited the wrong people into my circle are times when I was exhausted or during seasons where I made a decision only based on my heart, okay? They were not ready for the opportunity. They needed some more grooming to be involved. Their heart was not in it, and it caused more turmoil, right? Or people that did not have that same drive, okay? You say you want to go to some place, I can't push you and pull you at the same time. And I was trying to drag people into the next level, but because I felt connected to them heart, but I can still love you from afar, I can still push you from afar, but if you're gonna be in this sphere, we have a level of a work ethic that you need to find a way to come up to, and not me having to stop the train to keep coming back to where you are. You're supposed to take things off my plate, not add to it. And then times of exhaustion, those have been the biggest times in my life where I made the wrong decisions, because sometimes the workload is so high. Anybody, somebody off the street, come on, come help. And then that vetting process, what you said, you miss steps in that vetting process because you just need the help. But if you can stick it out a little longer and put those things in place to make sure you're inviting the right people, it's gonna save you a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of heartache, and it's gonna save the morale of your team with not having so many different transitions of team members.
Definitely. Let's give them a round of applause, ladies. These answers, I hope y'all taking notes. Take all the notes. We are here at Women of Power 2024, and although, you know, talking about women in business and corporate America is one of my favorite things to do, I also like to talk about us as just Black women. As a woman of power, as the three of you ladies are, talk to me about how you balance being such a woman of power, being a CEO, being the lead of a company, but still having work-life balance. Because I don't care what nobody say, work-life balance is important. And I think that balancing that avoids burnout. And if anyone deserves to have it all and to avoid burnout, it's Black women. Just let's be honest.
Yeah.
Being what we've been through throughout history, we deserve it. We deserve it all, okay? Tell me how you balance that as leading ladies within your company.
First of all, don't take yourself so seriously.
Okay.
and manage your time. Because you have the calendars at work and you do all that. But the things that are important to you, the things that keep you centered, make sure you make those the main thing. Because if you don't, then you can't do what you need to do in the job when you need to do that. And I mean, and you talk about balance. Sometimes 100% is going to go over here and everything else is going to get a 0, but you have to be able to recognize that and know that you can't stay in that mode all the time. So you know how to, to do that. So being, don't take yourself so seriously. I said it's not about your title, and then, I don't have any children, but I have some nieces and nephews and friends' kids that, when you think you about all that, they'll put you in your place.
They sure will. Kids are the most honest. And I love what you said, Crystal, because we had a speaker yesterday that said, sometimes I can't be 100% to my kids because I need that 20% for my business. Sometimes I can't be 100% CEO because I need that 30% for my children. I really, really love that quote, and I really, really believe in it. That stood out to me the most, so thank you for
And I'm going to be very honest. Sometimes you just have to cuss.
Let them know.
And that's okay. That is okay.
Statistics say that it's actually good for you.
It is, because you don't have as much stress.
It's
I'm not,
a
don't go
release.
cuss nobody out now.
Yeah, it's release.
I'm telling you what to do.
It just makes you feel better to cuss.
Yes. And
Don't
I
judge us.
couldn't agree more. Not being 100% is okay.
It is.
And cussing is okay.
Okay, yes. That's a jewel.
Dia, tell me how you balance it, because you wear so many hats and do so many amazing, great things.
This is one of my favorite topics. I'm not going to bore y'all with my TED Talk on this, but the truth is, I think it's one of the greatest tricks that's ever been sold to women, that the term work-life balance is actually preposterous.
It is.
Because it indicates that life is meant to be subordinate to your work.
Oh.
And I say this all the time, if work and life were on tour, work is the headline, work's Beyonce, work's the headliner, that makes 0 sense. Yeah. So the aspiration in and of itself is a flawed and ludicrous proposition of which we should disabuse ourselves. Because frankly, no one's talking to men about work-life balance. This is our burden.
Yeah. Amen.
One, and then two, we love to have a great time. We love to be successful at our jobs, and that's something that underpins your life. Right. But that is not our actual life. Right. Our actual life is about hopefully seeking joy, right? Learning, being a blessing to others, and feeling blessed, right? So I think you have to throw away the idea of work-life balance. It doesn't exist for this generation, for sure, because we're doing all kind of novel things. So I hope it gets right in the next 150 years, but we're pioneers in this space, so it doesn't exist. And what I do try to do is, I think about it like a batting cage, right? So I can't do all the things 100% to your point, but I try to think about the moment I'm in, I want to be all the way in.
All the way in, yeah.
I'm with my 11-year-old, and I got to bake organic muffins for the PTA they told me about an hour ago. I'm going to try to, we're going to have a fun time, we're going to throw in some music, we're going to have a great time. But I'm not going to be the best mother when I'm in the boardroom negotiating a $100 million deal, and we just got to be okay with that. Because we're in a great science experiment right now, we hope we get it right. But please, I'm actually trying to, on a campaign to eliminate this phrase work-life balance so it does not exist when our daughters and nieces are in the workplace.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, what are we gonna call it? Life-work balance? Like, we gotta come up with a new name. We'll talk about it, but we need a new name for that, because I couldn't.
We're gonna call it wellness. We're gonna call it,
self-care. Yeah. We can talk about it.
I would say, one, always create a home base for yourself. In times of stress or importance. So my home base is my children or my family. It could be calling my best friend to laugh and kiki. It could be playing, meditating or playing. It's my go-to immediately when I get to a certain point. And I just go back to my home base. And I love what you said, I agree. Never lose the art of play. We're so serious because we have so many goals, and I know why, because we got so much riding on our backs. And a lot of us are doing this for our families. But if you lose the art of play, there's a level of your creative genius that will never be unlocked, okay? It is in the art of play that you allow yourself to tap into a different frequency for you to pull out those ideas, those innovations, okay? So find the art of play in your life. And then the last thing I would say, the biggest lesson that I learned in times of stress or walking into big rooms is knowing that I belong in the room. And I'll never forget, I'll just say this, give me 30 seconds. my very first Hollywood event. And during that time, my husband and I came together, and we didn't have much money at that time. And all I could afford was a dress at Ross that was like $27.99. And we walked into there, it was red carpet and Lupita Nyong'o and all these celebrities and stars. And I felt so small. And I walked into the bathroom, and I had tears in my eyes. And I called my husband. I said, I don't belong here, right? It's too much pressure. I don't fit. I don't belong. And he says, no, you belong there, right? And with tears in my eyes, I said, no, I belong in the room. I belong in the room. I belong in the room. And I had to ignite that belief that no matter what comes your way, what level of elevation, there's always a level of pressure that comes. But you know that you belong there. The room is better because you're in it. The room is brighter because you're in it. And my light doesn't dim yours down, right? But baby, we come together, we got a greater shine. So when you step into any room, when you're introducing yourselves to everybody, when you're talking to us, know that you belong here, that you belong in this very space, in this very place that Black Enterprise has set before you. So just make sure that whatever life is hitting you, just know, I belong here, baby. I'm gonna do it, God, me and you, we're gonna do it.
I know that's right.
I don't know, I may look stressed out, but I know that I belong here and I have something to offer. So those are the three biggest things I've learned.
I love that. I love that answer so much. Yes. That was such an amazing answer. Before we get to Q&A, just to wrap, I would like to ask you ladies, what would you tell your younger self to continue to carry this sense of pride and be proud as you go along your journeys? And I ask this question, I love to wrap with this question, because I look across the room, and no matter if we're moderators, attendees, all of you ladies should be proud of yourselves. For you making it here, being surrounded, putting yourself with the amazing Black women in a room, everyone should be proud of yourself. So I want everyone to give yourselves a round of applause. No matter where you are in your career, for you to be here is something to be proud of. Ladies, I want to ask you, what would you tell your younger self, Latia, like you said, to have that inner voice, I belong, I'm proud of me? Because ladies, we are so proud of you. You ladies are doing, come on, we're proud of you.
Yeah. Everything that you're doing.
Thank you, thank you. What would you tell your younger self?
Well, I told my younger self, I can do anything
Okay.
that I want to do, and that nobody can hold me back. But one of the things is, don't shy away. You know you. You know what you're capable of doing, and don't allow anybody to work harder than you work to get what you want. So don't let other people define for you. I guess in a nutshell, don't let other people define for you the road that you need to go, because I'm sure several of us, oh, you're not going to be able to do this, you're not going to be able to do that. So younger self and any younger person, don't let anybody define your destination. You do it for yourself.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. What would you tell a young Dia Sims?
I would say three things. And this is maybe not as poetic. Invest in your health.
That's true.
Invest in your wealth.
That's so important.
Because those two things have compound interest, right? So if you're a young person in here, take the time for yourself. Do that 20 minutes, whatever you like, a jump rope, a walk, etc. Because it's going to matter when you're 55, 65, 85, if you're so blessed, right, to live a long life. Invest that $10. Get with your friends and own something. I say this all the time, that the average white American is worth 13 times what the average Black American is worth. But when you extract business owners or people that own anything, a robust portfolio, a nail salon, that multiple drops to 3x. One of the best civil rights tools that we underutilize so heavily is own something. It doesn't have to be, just have to be Amazon, but get with your crew and get a couple stocks, own something, right? It's the most underutilized tool we have. And the third thing I would say is, to me, gratitude is the baseline for joy, and it's the baseline for grace. And when you roll out of bed in the morning and you're breathing, you have a reason to just shout for joy.
Yes.
Say thank you.
You got something to shout for joy, right? And if you can walk and your hands is working and you got a bite to eat, it's even better, right? So if you made it to work that day, maybe you're not that good at your job. That's cool. You're just not in the right place. You're getting through the season. But if you can look yourself in the mirror and be proud of most of what you do, celebrate your life. It is too short. I tell my daughter, if we live 100 years, it will be a short life. If you are, I will tell my younger self that make sure you feverishly guard, right, the beautiful gift of time and seek joy first.
Yes. Latia. Yes,
I
come on.
would say,
That was a word, dear. That was a word.
I would tell little Tia that you are worthy of every beautiful, wonderful, and delicious thing that this life has to offer. And some people may not get it. Some people may not understand it. Ooh, try not to. You're gonna hear a lot of no's, but for every yes, you're worthy. You're worthy of the yes. And so when you show up as your full self and know that you're worthy of every moment that God brings to you, okay? And when you step on the scene, you better kill it. You understand me? And the last thing I would tell myself, my younger self, is don't be afraid of the unraveling. As Black women and women of color, we live so tightly wound, even from our hair. It is a spiritual nature for us to always be on guard, ready to brace ourselves for the hits and the blow of life. But I realize that we have more power in the unraveling because you realize how much power you have. You know how far I can stretch from this end to the earth to the next. Don't be afraid of your unraveling. And when you're in seasons of unraveling and discovering and rediscovering who you are in that moment, keep those around you that can support your unraveling, because you're going to be growing into the biggest tree and biggest empire this world has to offer. But you'll never know how big you'll get and how far and wide you can spread until you discover those ends of yourselves that you've been hiding and keeping down, because we've been living in these confines that corporate America has tried to keep us in. So unravel, baby.
Amen. Crystal, Dia, Latia, thank you so much. I literally have goosebumps from this conversation. Let's give these ladies a round of applause.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ladies, we are gonna do a quick Q&A. If you have any questions for these amazing ladies, please line up by this microphone right here. We only have time for about 3 or 4, so let's keep it quick, keep it cute.
My name's Megan Williams. I'm the CEO of Beyond the Bench Consulting. First thing I want to do is just thank Latia. We met in San Diego, and she said, I want to help you, but you have to know what you want.
Wow.
And I will be launching my consulting business next week.
Yes.
Come on, girl. Come on.
The second thing is, you all talked about when you kind of recruit the wrong people to your board. I have a champion who has been fantastic through the majority of my career, but the perception from everyone else about them is not great. And so I'm realizing that I'm going to have to navigate kind of an exit of that champion, because although they speak so highly of me, it's falling upon deaf ears because of their reputation.
Yes.
Can you talk about what that process can look like in a way that's both respectable but an exit?
That's tricky. Got that one, Crystal? You know?
So there's 2 ways this can go.
First, you have a conversation with that person, because you need to understand, and these people that are saying that the person is not good, ask them for specifics. Why are they not good? And if there are certain situations or things that they've been in and they've said or whatever that could be detrimental to you, then you need to have that conversation with, why are these people saying these things that, you know, you're promoting me and all this, but it's falling on deaf ears because of your reputation or whatever. So have that conversation and find out, because I wouldn't necessarily just jump to that I need to move them off of the board, because you need to find out why all these things are being said. So I would say just that honest conversation with that person. And I mean, you still may need to move them. And then you may give them some suggestions on getting them a personal board.
No, that's right. All right, next.
Hi, good morning, ladies. My name is Chanel Blanton, and I have a question for Dia. Thank you so much for being a disruptor in the wine industry, in the spirits industry. I used to own my own wine distribution company. And one of the things that we talked about yesterday in one of the events was about exposure. How do you get your brand's exposure, and what avenues? I know you use, Southern Glazers, but what other avenues do you give your brands exposure?
Yeah, so first of all, super shout out. Distribution in the spirits and wine industry is notoriously difficult for anybody. It's not a matter of genius or talent. So I already know what you have done to even do that. So thank you for that. As it pertains to particularly like startups and new brands, and this is not industry agnostic, the two biggest drivers that can help without a ton of cost are always in earned media, right? It's always in how can you maximize on social, how can you maximize on press. I really encourage people to think about how you build a brand beachhead, right? So a lot of times I find people, I got a new brand and they're trying to take on the whole world at the same time. But in my experience, narrow focus yields broad results. If you think about businesses like Patagonia or Nike or Range Rover, they started actually with a very narrow focus, and they still don't really deviate from who their customer is for, even though they're multi-billion-dollar industry. So if you're like, I live in Nashville, and I have a Tennessee whiskey, pick 10 zip codes. Who's the local blog, the local newspaper, the local television station, the local 25 alliances that meet locally, the women who tea, the gentlemen who golf, that live in a square radius. So A, you exercise the tools of how to do it, and you can kind of conduct like a narrow experiment of how to build a brand. It doesn't cost a lot to go to a neighborhood and say, you guys have a clubhouse? I'm gonna bring my brand by here when y'all have tennis on the stage. Or I see you guys meet and have HOAs. You guys should socialize. I'm gonna bring my brand by after. Then when you can have success in 10 zip codes, you can go get some money and say, look at the work I'm doing here, right? And it works. I started with 0, but now I'm selling 500 cases right around here. It's basically a penetration analysis to say, this works. I need some capital to take this and do it now in, I want to do 5 cities, and then I want to do 6 cities. But my best recommendation is focus on community, strategic relationships, press, and social media.
Woo. I just want y'all to know she just gave a master class in 15 seconds. I want y'all to know. I hope y'all was taking notes.
Masterclass to come.
For real. Because that's
Black
across
Enterprise,
multiple
let's make it
industries.
happen.
That was gold. That was gold.
How y'all doing? My name is Janae Irby. First of all, thank you, Sydney, for putting on, moderating a great
Oh, thank you.
and thank you, ladies, for your input. So I'm really big on keeping a good circle, and I know we spoke a lot about that today. So I'm interested because, I'm a young businesswoman going through like a transitional period right now, personally, business-wise. I would say I have a pretty good circle around me, but have you ever experienced where, you have a group of people that you may have grown up with and you've known all your life, they've been with you through thick and thin, but you're kind of in this period where it's like, I'm looking for more, I'm looking for new. And you don't want to keep them behind, but it's like, just want new. How do you kind of, have that conversation, or have you ever even experienced that, and what was that like?
Good question.
Well, some conversations don't need to be had. Sometimes they'll just naturally evolve, okay? And you don't have to force it, okay? Now, depending on how they were walking with you, I don't know if they're working with you, if they're on the team, then yes, there has to be some strategic conversation so they know where they land and where they stand with your business. But in terms of, I think a lot of us can attest to that as women who have done anything in life where it feels like you're becoming farther away from the people that you started with. And it doesn't have to be everybody, just could be a few. But I would say the one piece of nugget I would give you is that you can't go forward if you're keep looking back behind. Okay? Because there are new relationships and people that God wants to bring to you, but you can't if their spots in your life are already filled. And so I would say keep drudging ahead and keep moving forward. If they're on your team, have those necessary conversations, but you don't have to force it. It'll naturally happen on its own, and you can still love people from where you are, but you got too much ahead of you. And another nugget I'll tell y'all, especially those who are business owners and entrepreneurs, please understand that your friends and your family is not your target audience and your market. And oftentimes, it's not fair to you, and your business is not fair to them, okay? And you expect them to support the lifeline, your business, and you're missing out on all of the tons of capital, resources, and your true network that can build your net worth. And so, to that's one nugget I would give, and I don't know why I just feel that. Don't put that burden on you or them for them to have to support, and which means you have to get a very strong marketing and branding plan, and a branding and marketing plan is not posting one post on Facebook. That is not a marketing plan, okay? It is a journey, okay? We have to understand the difference between marketing and branding, and I don't even know why I'm talking about this. We use those terms interchangeably so much that we lost the meaning of each of them, okay? So go back to the basics. Keep evolving. Stop looking behind you. Those who will run with you will. And you'll sense and feel those moments when you need to have a personal one-on-one to say, I hate where we're at right now. You know, I want to figure this out. I want to still walk with you, but I just feel that we're in different places, and it'll happen. It'll happen.
One thing, remember this, and it's okay. Everybody that came with you can't go with you.
Can't
Come
go
on.
with you.
Come on. Come on.
Hello. I, for one, I'm excited to meet you, Ms. Crystal. I'm actually a FedEx contractor.
Okay.
So when I saw them here, I met a couple of them, but I hope to be able to actually meet you. I see that a lot of us have a lot of the same questions, because as I was listening to the first young lady and her, and mine's is basically dealing with the kitchen sink. And number one, is your kitchen sink, should it be just strictly people that are not on your payroll? Or does your kitchen sink involve people? Because as a boss, sometimes I struggle with, you know, when you work for FedEx, FedEx is your life as a contractor. I don't even know how to explain that. So you're around your management team all the time, so it's hard to sometimes deal with friendships outside. So, but I also struggle with boss and friendship, because then it seems to kind of deviate when it becomes friendship. So I'm not in friendship with employees, but with the management team, you're around them so much. So when it comes to the kitchen sink and dealing with a lot of the people that are on my management team now, because I'm trying to grow into other directions, so I'm trying to allow my business to function on its own, were drivers that I moved up to management, and it's like they're almost like family. Some of them are, some of them aren't. So now I'm at this crossroads, and this summit has helped a lot. FedEx has a lot of demands, and they're combining FedEx and Express and Ground and all this stuff that's going on. So it's like, I need a solid team. So it's like, how do you have this conversation with your current team who has been with you for years to say, hey, if you don't get it together, I have to let you go? Or like, what is the next step in finding a replacement? Because what I think I'm starting to see is maybe the people on my management team don't need to be people that were currently drivers or whatever. So how do I move forward in getting a solid team so I can go do what I want to do? I know that was a lot.
It was five questions in that
Right, that's why I said I hope to see her afterwards, but consolidate it down to one.
I think one of the things that has you stuck, you're viewing your team as family. You have to separate the two. Now, you're going to have some people on your team that you may go and do something with, but you have to keep that boundary, because you get yourself in a place that it's very hard to make those business decisions if this person is the wrong person for the job, because at the end of the day, you've got to have the results, and you've got to be able to, you know, to tell them that. So, and with the changes that are coming, and you found, and I mean, we all do that. Everybody that's a good ramp agent doesn't make a good manager, you know, everybody serves. So that happens, but when you recognize that you have made that decision to put somebody in a role that they're not fit for, that you have to sit down and go through the things. We talk, you know, clear expectations, and you have to be able to tell them. And it's not personal. You don't have to be brutal. You don't have to be mean, but you just start with, these are the expectations. This is where you're falling short. And maybe this is not the job for you. I'll be glad to help you find what is. But this ain't that.
This ain't that.
And if I could just add, because it's timely, for as you do your outplacement, there were 1,000 jobs right now open in the spirits industry. It's an average salary of $100,000. No, because people might not be good at something, but they may be great at another, right? So I encourage, as you guys are managing your teams, you can send them to pronghorn.co, look for a job.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. I didn't think we'd have time for me to ask my little questions, so thank you so much. And you have offered so much wisdom. I took a lot of notes. One of the biggest things I struggle with, Chardonnay Jackson from JP Morgan, I struggle with time management. And I have a wonderful network. I'm constantly meeting new people. And the key of nurturing stood out to me so much, because I love to give. And I don't want to receive all the time, but I struggle with how to set up time with everyone that's pouring into me and to check on them. What advice do you have as you're expanding your network and you want to nurture your network, for how frequently do you check on people? Because you shouldn't prioritize too much of this person because of their title, because of what they can give you. But how do you navigate that space so you don't burn yourself out?
Don't take time, because I think it's important. For one, I want to make sure, just meeting you, that you're balancing your gratefulness, which is beautiful, with your gracefulness, which is where you are guarding your time, right? And I think what I try to do and I encourage people to do is have a quarterly business review in the mirror with yourself. Like, and you actually have to hold yourself accountable to that. As a person who's 48, yeah. I know people, I can think back to people I've known since I was 22, and they have been literally saying, I'm about to do the same thing. Not because they're bad people, they're not talented people, but it is really time management. I've been a giver, I've spent so much time with this person, helping that person, that I need to look up, and they have not achieved their own objectives. It's hard to help people, frankly, and just the old school, put your mask on first, if you're not where you need to be. So it's okay to make the right sacrifices and nurture yourself first, to invest in yourself first. And you have to be, I mean, I manage time like, don't do a 30-minute slot. Default to 15 or 20 minutes. Don't default to 60, default to 45. Look every night beforehand and micromanage, what am I gonna do with these 24 hours? Be thoughtful about how much you can do in 2 or 3 minutes. Many people are like, well, I only got 5 minutes, I'm gonna do this in 3 weeks. No, if it takes less than 5 minutes, go ahead and do it, which includes nurturing, which includes, I'm actually not the best at like, I'm going to dinner with all my friends, but I got every birthday, I'm gonna get every holiday. So I have a system, I know everybody's birthday, I know what's going on with their kids. And I may not talk to you all year round, but when it's something special happening, I'm gonna show up, I'm gonna be supportive, either in person or with the right message. But you have to, I hate to say this, it may sound cold, but you almost have to systemize your nurturing, particularly as you're growing in your life.
And don't apologize for it.
Right.
Don't apologize.
It is an honor to be in close proximity with you. That's how you have to view yourself with anybody that comes into relationship with you. And then again, know your seasons. There's certain seasons, to your question about how often you check on people. It depends on what my focus is in that season. So one mentor or mentee that's either walking with me or a mentor that I'm looking to aspire to do a venture, I may call them a little bit more in that moment, in that season, okay? And then when you do that to all you guys, you are not a burden. Okay? Sometimes you guys may be afraid to ask questions or to put yourself out there. You are not a burden because you have something to offer, okay? You're just not trying to suck the life out of people. But know your seasons, put systems in place for your business, okay? Productivity tools so that you can make sure that your day is the most productive, so you can do the things that you want to do and not just the things you have to do.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Hello, ladies. Thank you all. This has been amazing. You all are phenomenal, and it's been really great sitting here listening to the wisdom that you're pouring out. My name is Felicia Goings of Culture Media, and this question is for the whole panel. What are some key indicators, professionally or personally, when it's time to let someone go or hold on and push through? Because I think that right now we live in a culture where like the cutoff or canceling is like a knee-jerk reaction, but that difficulty may not mean separation. So what are some key indicators professionally or personally when it's time to let someone go or hold on and push through?
That's a great question.
I mean, first, for me, apathy is an indicator. So I can get with you actually are loathsome of what you're doing, because it speaks to a level of passion of like, maybe it's not the right fit for you, or you're like, this job is not for me, or there's something going on personally, or maybe you're actually just not match made right in your role, and that's why but you could be passionate about something. But people who just don't care, it's not a fit for my environment. In terms of when you want to invest more, I mean, I try to default to that point of view of just like, okay, what is this person? Because we're all good at something, right? What is this person good at? How can they be in the right space? Either is it with me? Is it a call I can make? How can you move them forward? If they have a desire to learn, if they have curiosity, for me, is a real cool somebody who's like, I want to learn something. They're genuinely curious. They may not have the technical skills, but I will always err on the side of a curious person and how you keep them in when you're at this inflection point of should they stay or should we invest in them.
Thank you.
To the same point, you have to look at it from the standpoint, is it a situation of a person being willing? Are they willing or are they unable? So if they're unable, then the onus is on you to make sure that that conversation is held. And then are you putting some barriers there that makes them unable? So once you've put all that out and they're just apathy, just unable, then that's the time. If they're willing, and if somebody's willing, then you can go that extra mile. You can take the time because they're just as invested as you are in the same thing. And depending on the situation personally, you know, whatever it is and how it's affected you, whatever, sometimes you just got to write people off. And then other times, depending on, then you have to talk about it. Can you mend whatever it was? And if mending it is going to keep you from being who you are, then it's not worth mending.
Yeah.
Come on.
And then I'll say also know if have they ever performed the duty well. Okay? It's one thing when somebody comes in and they're on fire and then something happens. And before you cut them off, having a conversation, because sometimes maybe something that's going on in their family or their personal life, and instead of saying, why did you, it could be, what happened?
Right.
Okay? And so, and how you navigate that conversation will lead you to a decision of keeping them on board, drudging through it, right? Or if they have never met a goal ever, then that's a totally different conversation, because baby, we'll bake some brownies over there, you know, but we not, you know, but just know, and again, learning them and learning their working styles. And sometimes I tell people that are starting their entrepreneurs, allow people to build gradually, meaning they may start off as a volunteer or a contractor, and then part-time to full-time, then salary, right? And so that allows that probationary period for you to look at their work ethic and their work skills. When COVID hit, a lot of people learned people's work ethics when we're not all in the same room. How do you work, right? And do I have to stay on you? Do I have to micromanage you? Because if I'm putting you on a team, I'm trusting you that you're gonna do what I asked you to do. And if if you're not doing it, then there is a greater conversation and need that needs to be had. So
Thank you.
Yes. Ladies, this has been such an amazing conversation. Thank you for everything you do for our culture, for the Black women coming behind you, and for the ones that are right there with you. Let's give these ladies one more round of applause. Thank you so much, and we can't wait to see what's next. Thank you guys for joining us. All right.